We're gonna do the Loud House, but don't worry, I seen the community poll. Mickey Mouse won, so I'm gonna do Mickey Mouse in the next video. For now though, we're doing the Loud House. To be more specific, we're doing the episode Tripped, and here's a hint, this character right here is Rita, and you wanna pay attention to her lipstick. Roll the footage, please.
Hey! Oh, I've been working a lot of overtime lately.
All right, so you guys may have saw, all right, this patient right here sprays Rita with the water jet, and we literally see her lipstick get washed off. Like, as you can see here, it is washed off of her face. But literally, like literally seconds later, when she explains that she has been working overtime, look, her lipstick.
A rye sandwich carved entirely of driftwood? Mamma mia!
Oh, blah, blah.
Okay. Smells industrial.
Time for a somewhat spooky episode of SpongeBob. I'm getting you guys ready for Halloween. I'm talking about Seance Schmeance. This episode is pretty good, but I'll let you guys be the judge. Here are some clips from the episode.
We can't eat anything. Why are we here?
On this night, we shall make contact with the unliving by performing a seance. As consort to the spirit world, I now commence this seance. I shall invoke the specter of Rusty Ricketts. Rusty Ricketts.
Hey, what'd you think? Let me know in the comments. Let's keep it moving though and get into mistake number 1. Roll the footage.
Help me out, sir. Could you clue me into what was in your beloved Rusty on Rye?
Huh? Well, let's see. I think it was on rye bread.
Only what's on the menu, old-timer.
This ain't no kind of way to treat a loyal customer.
No! Mr. Krabs! There was an unsatisfied customer.
This one's pretty simple, and I'm sure some of you guys caught it. But when SpongeBob goes running to Mr. Krabs' office, there's a massive spelling mistake on the Galley Grub menu. So Krabby Patty is normally spelled as Krabbypatty. You can even see this on other shots of the Galley Grub menu from previous episodes. But in this episode, it's misspelt, with Patty being spelled as Pattie. Now, this is a fairly common mistake in SpongeBob. It happens at least once or twice every season, but come on guys, that's not how it's spelled. And let's keep it rolling guys, because I have another mistake.
You better have a darn good reason for getting me out of bed, boy. That good enough for you?
So as you can see in some of these shots right here, canonically, the Chum Bucket and Krusty Krab have always been like across from each other. But when Mr. Krabs and Patrick stand in the front door of the Krusty Krab, the Chum Bucket is just not there. It's like completely missing. It should be across the street like this footage here, but in this shot, poof, it's just gone. Let's kick things off with a very funny episode from Season 7. Now, Season 7 is very hit or miss. There's lots of episodes in Season 7 that are not very good, but Model Sponge is a very good episode. And it's all about SpongeBob becoming a commercial actor. Like, this guy becomes an actor. It's very funny, but I'm sure you're wondering how this happens and why he leaves the Krusty Krab. Here's some clips.
Are you kidding? He's an absolute treasure to have around the restaurant.
Oh, sounds like Mr. Krabs is bragging about me again to his associates.
But I'm afraid I'm gonna have to let the little guy go today.
Yep, he's gonna have to what? Goodbye, Krusty Krab. Goodbye, life as I know it. I need to start fresh with a job that feels natural. Something that says, this is a job for a sponge. I could audition to be a sponge model.
It's funny, SpongeBob thought he was going to be like a big actor, but his role is actually kind of degrading since he's literally a sponge. But anyways, let's get into what you guys clicked on the video for, some spicy mistakes. Here's mistake number 1.
20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 95, 96, 97. Order up! I don't think I'm cut out for acting.
Boss, you said you are a professional actor.
I am a fry cook, and that's what I've always been. I'm sorry to waste your time, mister.
Wait!
Throughout this episode, we see SpongeBob use his signature gray spatula. And you know, it's always gray. I mean, I've never seen SpongeBob with a different colored spatula. It's always gray. But when SpongeBob says, "I'm sorry to waste your time, mister," the gray spatula he's holding turns yellow for a split second. This thing has never been yellow before, so this was a total mistake, and I don't even know how it happened. But there's more. Let's move over to mistake number 2.
Since the role specifically calls for a real sponge, the part is yours. Here's the script. We start shooting tomorrow at 10, don't late. You can go right in.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. Director.
In this scene, you'll be cleaning bathroom fixtures.
Okay. So where's my cleaning utensil?
Don't you get it? You are the cleaning utensil.
Household chores are a snap with new Sponge. It cleans sinks. Just look at that shine.
So this one is technically a mistake. I'm not gonna lie, it's not that big of a deal, but don't worry, we've got crazier mistakes coming up. But even though the BBTV lady gives SpongeBob a script, as you can see here, it seems that said script had like no use. This is because SpongeBob had a non-speaking role and only the commercial announcer spoke. SpongeBob is literally just used as a sponge, so I guess that could have been in the script, but I'd just say that this was a mistake. And let's move over to episode number 2, guys, which, like I said earlier, has some crazy mistakes, way crazier than this one.
Look at him. Ain't he a doll?
He's going to the door.
He's knocking on the door. Squidward's answering the door, and...
He's beating up Squidward.
So first up is the classic episode, Frankendoodle. I love this episode. Shout out to Doodle Bob over here. This guy's crazy. This man's a menace. Now this episode has a ton of mistakes, but keep your eyes peeled for this first one. Roll footage.
Be careful with that thing. Very funny, Doodle. Now it's my turn.
Okay, so I already know that this one is going to need some explaining. So here's the thing. When SpongeBob and Doodle Bob are in SpongeBob's living room, in the initial shot of the TV, the images next to it are just shots of barren landscapes, as you can see here. Then, in the next shot, they randomly change and are now images of Patrick, SpongeBob, and the pineapple, respectively. Then, they change for a third time, and now they're just solid colors. And then, for the fourth time they change, they just go back to the images of SpongeBob, Patrick, and the pineapple, and then, guys, believe it or not, in a fifth shot, they go back to the solid colors. So this back and forth happens multiple times, and pretty much just as you can see, these shots over here just constantly change. Really weird mistake. Let's keep it rolling though and head over to another episode. Now, this next mistake can be found in the episode The Inside Job, and I'll admit it's not that big of a deal, but it's still a mistake. So hear me out real quick. Here are the clips with the mistake. Let's see if you guys can catch this one.
Where do morons keep all their secrets? Nope, the library, where he keeps records of his every thought. All of his deepest, juiciest secrets. All these secrets are lame. Wait a minute. What's this? The secret recipe isn't in the brain. It's located in the heart. Krabby Patty recipe. Yes, 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 here it is. All of the ingredients coming together in perfect harmony.
So as you just saw, Plankton can be seen sliding down SpongeBob's spine. However, SpongeBob should not even have a spine, guys, because he's a sponge and sponges are invertebrates. This is also a cartoon though, so I'm definitely overthinking this one, but I still wanted to include it. Like SpongeBob, if he was a legitimate sponge, like a sea sponge, he wouldn't have a spine. So let's move on to the next episode, which has much better mistakes than this one. These next mistakes are amazing.
It is him! Aren't you the esteemed Squilliam Fancyson III?
No, I am not.
Oh, that's too bad. If you were Squilliam Fancyson, I would offer you your very own music class.
My very own music class.
First up is the season 6 episode, Professor Squidward, which to be honest with you guys is not the best episode. You know, the plot is kind of cool because we get to see Squilliam, but not the best episode. What it does have though is this mistake. Let's see if you guys can spot it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Isn't it grand?
What is?
He's such a great musician.
All right, I've had enough. Bunch of nonsense.
So this character right here is known as Incidental F9, and as you can see, she's wearing this dress. It looks very good, she looks very pretty. But seconds later after that shot I just showed you, when we hear Fred say, "Isn't it grand?" Incidental F9's dress is missing. Her dress is just gone, and I highly doubt Shorty took her dress off in the middle of, like, what? Where's her dress? Where'd it go? That's not it for this episode, guys. I have another mistake. This one though, you really need to pay attention to.
Would you two nincompoops cut it out? Or am I gonna...
Hello! We're with the local Bikini Bottom news channel.
I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna get my tuition back.
Wow! You're not going anywhere.
Like I said, this one's kind of complicated, guys, so listen closely. So during this scene where Patrick rides his locomotive into the trash can, we can see Squidward exit the building from this door right here, this door, and it leads to outside where he places the trash can, right? This door right here leads to outside, remember. But later on in this episode, this completely changes. It's like the animators forget, because when both news crews and the police come into Squidward's classroom, they enter the same door that Squidward took to go outside, but now it leads to a hallway. Before it led to here, outside, now it leads to a hallway. So a bit of a continuity error here. I don't know what's going on, but let's keep the video going, guys, and head over to another crazy episode with tons of mistakes. Don't click off.
Whether you're caged or whether you're loose, I'll feed you to me golden goose.
Plankton and the Beanstalk is a fairly new episode. Like, I'm pretty sure it only premiered like a week ago, guys. So, you know, Cartoon Corey, he's got you covered with the new SpongeBob. I hate to say it though, this episode does have a small mistake. And I will say in advance, guys, this one isn't that big of a deal. The other mistakes we're gonna be covering in today's video are much better, so stay tuned. But roll the footage, here's the mistake.
It's ready! It's ready! It's ready!
I'm rich! Don't mind if I do. Huh? Who disturbs me in her sanctum?
So throughout this episode, we're introduced to Sponge Duck over here, which is a very interesting take on SpongeBob, you know? But anyways, as you can see, Sponge Duck over here wears this red shirt, and it's on him for a majority of the episode. It's always there. But during this one shot, it might be due to the angle, but the red shirt is missing. And guys, honestly, even with this angle being different, you should still be able to see some of the red shirt. But this is a cartoon. It's not that big of a deal. Let's move over to another episode that has some jaw-dropping mistakes. Be prepared. Let's keep it moving.
Please come over for a visit, Squidward. Please, 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 please. Okay, Squidward. Maybe some other time.
Okay, I've got one more episode for you guys. It's the episode Squid's Visit from season 6, and this episode is pretty good. Take a look at some of these hilarious clips from the episode.
Why would I leave the comfort of my home for your dirty little hovel? You can't just steal my decorating style and... Never mind. Just give me my vacuum.
Please make yourself at home.
How did he do it? He got my coffee table, my vase, snack bowl, coasters. He even copied her Stitch signature. For Squiddy with love, Mama.
You yelled?
Never mind, I'll find the vacuum myself.
Okay, let's get into the mistakes. It's why you guys clicked on the video. Here's the first one. Keep those eyes peeled, guys. Really pay close attention.
I'll be over to get my vacuum in 20 minutes.
Welcome to my humble abode. Don't hesitate to ask me if there's anything that I can...
I just want my vacuum back. You've made an exact replica of my living room.
Well, you said you wouldn't leave the comfort of your home. Isn't it great?
No, it isn't!
Like I said, this one you really need to pay close attention for. But when SpongeBob first enters Squidward's house, there's a portrait of another squid on the wall right here that you can see, but with an orange face and a blue shirt. I don't know who this guy is. Let me know in the comments who you think he could be. But as you can see, it's right here. It's on Squidward's wall. However, when the camera pans in front of Squidward's face and he says, no, it isn't, the painting has magically changed to a completely different painting and now has a green face and a white shirt. At first, the painting looked like this. I'm gonna zoom in on it, take a look, and then it just magically changes to this. So I don't know what happened here. It's the exact same painting, just the art changed. So I think the animators slipped up. They drew it this way, then drew it this way. I don't know. Mistakes happen, but that's not it. I have one more from this episode. Keep those eyes peeled.
Hey, Squidward. Any plans afterward?
No.
Feel free to drop by if you're in the neighborhood.
Thank you so much for that lovely invitation. I must respectfully tell you, I will never visit you. Ever!
This one happens really fast, but when Squidward shouts ever in SpongeBob's face, one side of SpongeBob's white shirt turns transparent for a very brief moment. Here, let me zoom in and you can really see it. That side of his pants right there should be white, but as you can see, it's see-through and it's the same color as the sky. So I guess the animators made a little goof when it came to coloring SpongeBob in there, but hey, mistakes happen. When a new toy called Whirly Brains takes over Bikini Bottom, and the episode appropriately titled Whirly Brains, SpongeBob and Patrick decide to join in on the new fad and use their new toy to spy on other Bikini Bottom residents, including Squidward. Things get tricky though, when an old evil man begins to steal people's Whirly Brains, and this causes SpongeBob and Patrick to literally lose their minds. Don't worry though, as by the end of the episode, Sandy comes in clutch and saves the day. But let's actually head back to this scene for a little goof. I know you missed it. Just before Sandy enters the old man's yard, we can see a sign that reads trespassing. But the spelling is actually incorrect, as it adds an extra S to the word. Here's a clip.
And it looks like you're not the only critters around these parts to lose your minds. And my detector is leading us directly to... that house. Excuse me, kind sir.
Our first mistake can be found in the episode Insecurity Guards. We've covered this episode a few times before, but don't worry, this mistake is a new one. In this episode, Patrick gets a job as a security guard at the Bikini Bottom Museum of Everything and recruits SpongeBob as his assistant. Meanwhile, Squidward attempts to sneak in and hang his painting up. Now, I actually don't want to spoil this episode because it's actually pretty good and the twist is pretty cool. So let's just get right to the mistake. It takes place during this scene. During one of SpongeBob's animations, both his sleeves and his teeth turn yellow, which looks pretty weird. I hope you're okay, SpongeBob. Here's a clip.
What are you doing here?
Patrick is the museum's new security guard, and he's given me a tour.
In the episode Love That Squid, Squidward meets another female squid named Squilvia and falls madly in love with her. Squidward eventually asks her out on a date, but due to Squidward being a nervous mess, he ends up doing some sort of practice date with SpongeBob to help get himself prepared. Now, if we fast forward to the ending of the episode, everything works out, and Squidward goes on his date with Squilvia. But let's go back a little. We can find a mistake. I know you missed it. Watch closely during this shot of Squilvia entering the Krusty Krab. If you look closely, we can see Incidental 64 and Incidental 37B sitting together. However, literally seconds later, and they have magically changed places and are sitting at completely different tables. This happens in like seconds, so this was definitely a mistake. Here's a clip.
That'll make me feel better. Who is that? She's gaga gaga. She's gaga 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 gaga. She's wow.
Finally, some service around here.
When SpongeBob creates a puppet version of Squidward that's less grumpy, and a lot of people like a whole lot more than the real Squidward, this frustrates the real Squidward, and gives us the episode Squidwood. Now, to be real with you guys, there isn't a whole bunch of mistakes in this episode, so I'm going to keep this plot summary short. But when a close-up of Mini Squidward playing the clarinet is shown, one side of SpongeBob's shirt is incorrectly colored as yellow, when, as most of you know, it should be white. Oh, also during this scene, where Squidward gets angry at Mini Squidward, Incidental 92's skin is purple. Every other time we've seen this character, he's been green, so this was another weird mistake.
Was awful! He stole my joke.
In the Season 2 episode, Imitation Krabs, Plankton builds a robot, imitating Mr. Krabs to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, as always. However, while infiltrating the Krusty Krab, this proves to be easier said than done. Now in the end, SpongeBob saves the day by inserting a penny into the self-destruct slot on the robot imitated Mr. Krabs, which then self-destructs the robot and ruins Plankton's plan. A great ending. However, what isn't so great is this mistake. As SpongeBob enters this room and is met with some lighting, one of his eyes turns, well, black. I guess grayish, like dark gray, but it's black. We've seen this type of mistake many times in the past, but damn does it look weird here. Here's a clip, guys.
Hey, why don't you take the rest of the day off?
Whatever you say, Mr. Krabs.
Hi, Mr. Krabs.
Oh, sweet domination. This is it!
No sign of Plankton yet. Gosh, Mr. Krabs, you don't look so good. Ooh, you're so cold.
Season 12's Gary's Got Legs follows SpongeBob's favorite pet snail, Gary. The episode opens up with SpongeBob and Gary exercising. SpongeBob realizes as they get into the workout that Gary cannot fully participate and looks for a solution without legs. Being an excellent owner, SpongeBob rips off his own legs to give Gary the chance to run. Now, I don't want to spoil what happens next, as it's actually a pretty decent Season 12 episode, so instead, let's get right into the mistake. I mean, it's why you click the video after all. It happens quick, but as SpongeBob gets ran over by Gary driving a tank, there is a brief frame where SpongeBob's shirt, which is supposed to be white at this time, turns to the same color as the tank, like a darkish green. Here's a clip.
Hey, now you're moving. Hey, I'm okay. It's time to clean up your act, Gary. I bathed Gary too hard and removed his skin.
Man, there's nothing like Season 2 of SpongeBob. It really takes me back to my younger years, especially the episode Gary Takes a Bath, an episode all about Gary, well, as you can imagine, refusing to take a bath. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this quick mistake that happens in the episode. Roll the footage.
Look what I found. It's an old pirate treasure map revealing the location of buried pirate treasure in this very house. Come on, boy, let's go get that treasure.
Now you need to be a true SpongeBob fan to really catch this one or even understand it. So take a look at these random shots of SpongeBob's living room and take a look at the wallpaper. It's like this blue design with like bamboo sticks in it, and it's always looked like this ever since season 1. Well, in Gary Takes a Bath, we get this scene where SpongeBob is in the kitchen holding up his treasure map, okay? And as we can see, the background is incorrect. We can see the wallpaper of his living room, right? But as I already said, SpongeBob is in the kitchen. It should actually look like this. The wallpaper is not blue. We know this for sure because the door in the kitchen is in the right place. This means for sure that it's not a shot of the living room, so the wallpaper should not be blue. This was like a weird mistake. I don't know how it happened. It's kind of funny, but let's keep it moving and head over to another episode.
What is it about the third Wednesday of every month that makes Squidward so happy?
This almost makes the other 353 days worth living for.
Let's head over to Cephalopod Lodge, an episode from season 6 that I personally really like. Here's some funny clips from the episode. We're gonna get into the mistakes, but I don't want you guys to miss these clips. The episode is hilarious.
SpongeBob, Patrick, did you follow me here?
No outsiders have witnessed this sacred initiation. You have desecrated the sanctity of this lodge.
They kicked me out of the Cephalopod Lodge.
Do we get to join the lodge?
Like I said, it's funny, right? Give the episode a chance, but baby, it is mistake time. Here's this episode's mistake. Let's see if you guys can catch it.
Patrick and I have come up with a secret handshake. Patty cake, Sailor Man, bake me a cake as fast.
SpongeBob, everybody knows patty cake.
Not the way we do it.
We don't use our pinkies.
Okay, this one isn't that big of a deal, but SpongeBob and Patrick's secret handshake has them play patty cake without using their pinkies, right? This is something that they specify in the episode, as you could hear in the clips we just played. And remember this, guys, because it's important. When they play patty cake, they don't use their pinkies. Remember this. However, when they eventually demonstrate the handshake to Squidward in this scene, take a look.
Patty cake, Sailor Man, bake me a cake as fast.
SpongeBob!
Yeah, as you've seen, they clearly used their pinkies, like their pinkies touch each other, despite the fact that they said they play patty cake without using their pinkies. So a bit of a mistake here, it's not that big of a deal, but let's head over to our last episode of today, which has a fairly bad mistake. Let's keep it moving.
Here, take these rings. And when you touch them together, you'll be instantly transformed into our duplicates.
We're ready!
Dude, these mistakes in the episode shuffleboarding are, like, baffling. Take a look at this first one.
That's the evil Man Ray! Hello, Man Ray. Who's your friend?
I'd like you to meet Mabel. You handle Man Ray. I'll take care of his lackey.
Mabel, that's it. Time for the spin cycle.
You're all wet. You need to dry out.
What? No! My head is dry clean only!
Now, I don't know how the animators made this mistake, but when SpongeBob is turning the dryer over here to shrink, take a look at his arm because it's orange. As most of you know, SpongeBob's arms are yellow. They've been yellow since the first season, but I guess the animators made a little mistake with coloring here because dude's arm is orange. SpongeBob, you gotta go talk to a doctor about that, dude. It's supposed to be yellow. And that's not it for this episode, guys. Here's another mistake. This one is easy to miss, so I need the Grapple Gang. I need you guys to pay close attention. So take a look at these people falling down from the sky, all right? We can see this fish right here with red pants. Here, I'll even freeze and zoom in on him while he's mid-air. You can see him right here, and he's got his fresh red pants. Well, once this little dude lands on the ground, he just disappears. Take a look at the footage in slow motion. Literally, as he hits the ground, he just disappears. It's really funny. Talk about a bad mistake. And guys, this episode still has one more. Let's see if you guys can spot it.
Well, our work is done here.
Just like that fish with the red pants, SpongeBob and Patrick have a little situation with disappearing off of the screen, as when SpongeBob and Patrick walk away from the prison, just as it epically explodes, our boys suddenly disappear out of the screen. Rather than gradually disappearing like they would in other episodes, they just suddenly disappear and it's very abrupt. It's not that big of a deal. We've got some crazier mistakes coming up in the episode, so stay tuned, but it's still somewhat of a mistake. But yeah, let's keep it moving and head over to another episode.
Hey, buddy. The old pineapple is shipping out soon and they need more hands.
Thanks, but I always get seasick. I wouldn't be caught dead on a ship.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
And last but not least is another fairly new episode of SpongeBob, Dopey Dick. This episode only came out like 2 weeks ago, and I actually really like the episode. But before we get into the mistakes, here are some really funny clips from this episode. It's so funny.
Avast ye! I be Captain SpongeHab. I brought you all here for a special mission. To hunt down the great white jellyfish, Dopey Dick. And if ye spot him, just give me a holler. Yes, just like that. Oh, Dopey Dick.
Now, the mistake in this episode is very easy to miss. Like this one, I had to watch it a couple of times to actually catch it, okay? It's your guys' turn to catch it. Watch closely. Here's the clip.
Don't worry. I'll show ye the ropes. The big rope, the little rope, the smiley rope, and the licorice rope.
Again, it's very easy to miss, but after Pat Buck shows this version of Squidward, the smiley rope, take a look at the top of Squidward's head, because it's cut off for a few frames. Like, I'm gonna zoom in right here. You can see that there's still like the sky at the top, and just a piece of the top of Squidward's head is just cut off. It's missing, and that is a pretty bad mistake right there. The episode Super Evil Aquatic Villain Team Up is Go. Plankton teams up with Man Ray to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. What a shocker. Well, this plan goes poorly and backfires when Man Ray becomes addicted to Krabby Patties. You can't blame him. As you can probably tell from the little summary I just provided, it's a fun episode, but of course it has a hidden mistake. During this scene, where Mr. Krabs is introduced to Man Ray, there are numerous shots where the path to the chum bucket is missing, when it should be directly across from the Krusty Krab as seen in previous episodes. Here's a clip.
But before you toss me out like yesterday's garbage, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Come on out, partner.
Partner? That's the silliest thing you've ever...
I want you to say hello to my new partner and your new overlord, Man Ray.
Hello.
Our last mistake can be found in the episode Buried in Time. This episode sees the Krusty Krab start up its very own time capsule out of the old tartar sauce container. And just as it's about to go into the ground, Mr. Krabs announces that he's going to make his own contribution, a copy of the coveted Krabby Patty secret formula. Plankton sees this and begins to fantasize about customers munching Krabby Patties at the chum bucket. And if you look closely, one of the customers is Harold. Look closely. As you can see, he's sucking away at his drink, but his straw is definitely not actually inside of his mouth, making for a very weird air.
But before we do, I'd like to make a contribution of my own. A copy of the Krabby Patty formula.
There it is! The one element that could turn this lonesome bucket of steel into a bustling, world Delicious eatery!
One of my favorite episodes of SpongeBob is the parody episode where they make fun of fast food training videos, titled Krusty Krab Training Video. It's fairly short, so I'd say we skip the plot summary and just get right into the spicy mistake. In the first exterior shot of the Krusty Krab, there is a small error that Nickelodeon awkwardly missed, as there appears to be 2 enter signs, when, as you know, there's only supposed to be 1. Here's a clip.
Welcome aboard. If you're watching this video, then let me be the first to say congratulations. You've recently been hired by the Krusty Krab restaurant, and this is your first official day of training.
Our next mistake can be found in another Season 11 episode, titled Surf and Turf. This episode is all about Sandy entering a ship in a bottle contest. However, due to her struggling to make one that doesn't just break, she enlists the help of SpongeBob and eventually Mr. Krabs, who agree to help as long as the prize money is split 50-50. Now, it takes a bunch of failed attempts, but as you can imagine, by the end of the episode, the gang gets the job done, and Mr. Krabs tries to steal the prize money. But let's head over to this scene for a mistake. It's why you click the video. It is a little inappropriate, but during this scene, there is a single frame where Sandy's bra just disappears. Yeah, this one is pretty bad considering it's like a kid show that airs on Nickelodeon, but it only happens for a frame, so. But yeah, here's a clip with audio.
Let's go, you bag of shells! I want you jumping like hot grease on a skillet!
Sorry, Miss Cheeks. Okay, I'll be right Okay, I'm working.
In the Season 2 episode, Clams, Mr. Krabs earns his millionth dollar, and this is a very big deal for him. So he decides to give back to SpongeBob and Squidward by taking them on a fishing trip to go and catch clams for the weekend. Unfortunately for Mr. Krabs though, SpongeBob ends up losing Mr. Krabs' dollar for him when he accidentally hooks it to his fishing line and ends up feeding it to, well, a giant clam. From here, the episode focuses on Mr. Krabs' obsession to find his lost dollar. And if we head back to this scene, the animators made a tiny mistake, as for the entire episode, the ship looked like this. However, during the last shot of the episode, the ship is just like changed and now looks like this and is equipped with a bowsprit. This bowsprit was not on the boat before, so I don't know why it's there now. It's a subtle mistake, but it's a mistake.
Wow, a trip!
I can't believe it, Mr. Krabs. Where are we going? Fancy Springs?
No.
Pamper Island?
Try again.
Oh, Old Bikini Bottom Folk Village?
Better than that.
Clam fishing. This is the reward we get for all our hard work? Fishing for stinky clams in a smelly old boat on a filthy lagoon? You call this fun?
Have you boys met me $1 million?
Wow, how'd you get it back?
It wasn't easy. Oh, Blue Lips is quite the fighter. So eventually we settled on a trade.
SpongeBob is a hard worker, but what would happen if he was forced to take a break? Well, that's the plot of the episode Bummer Vacation, with SpongeBob being forced to take his vacation days, with Patrick, his best friend, coming in as a replacement, only temporarily though. This really bothers SpongeBob though, and results in him trying to get back to work, sneaking back into the Krusty Krab. But Mr. Krabs isn't having it, and kicks him out every single time. Now in the end, SpongeBob's break ends up ending before he even realizes it, due to him spending so much time trying to get back to work. But let's go back to this scene for a mistake. During this scene, where a depressed SpongeBob is home alone, there is a brief frame where some really weird stuff goes on with his eyes. It's just odd. Look at it. These types of mistakes happen every once in a while, but boy, is it weird. Here's a clip.
I'm on vacation, Gary. I'm not allowed to go to work. stomach has receded. Mr. Krabs said I couldn't work at the Krusty Krab. He didn't say I couldn't eat there. This is my ticket back inside.
Our next mistake can be found in the episode Demolition Doofus. This episode is all about SpongeBob accidentally injuring Mrs. Puff real bad. So to get back at him, she pretty much attempts to have him killed, with her convincing the poor sponge to compete in a rigorous boating derby full of crazy fish. To our surprise though, SpongeBob is shockingly very skilled at the derby and beats almost all of the other competitors. This only upsets Mrs. Puff even more though, with her taking matters into her own hands and joining in to get the job done herself. Now the mistake in question can be found during this scene, where Cruncher drives away from SpongeBob. Throughout the episode, Cruncher has back fins. However, during this shot, the Cruncher's back fins are just missing, thus making for a subtle continuity error. First up is a somewhat underrated episode of SpongeBob, that being New Digs. This episode is all about SpongeBob oversleeping and going into work late. And I mean, you guys know SpongeBob. This dude is obsessed with the Krusty Krab. I don't even think Mr. Krabs pays him, but he still goes into work. But yeah, he goes into work late, so he decides to move into the Krusty Krab. That way he's never late again. I don't know about y'all, but I would never do anything like that. But here's some clips from the episode. It's really funny.
Yeah. If you love it here so much, why don't you just live here? Ha, ha, ha.
Oh, hi, Squidward.
SpongeBob, what are you doing here?
Oh, I live here now.
In the dishwasher?
No, at the Krusty Krab.
Yeah, this episode is hilarious. Like, this dude moves his entire apartment into the kitchen. He brings Gary, his couch, his TV. SpongeBob, you need to chill. Work is not that serious. But what is serious is mistakes in animation, and this episode has two. Here's the first one. Keep those eyes peeled.
And when I went home at night, guess what?
He wasn't there?
Right! and when I woke up in the morning?
Come on, man, my change!
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, well, thank you. Oh, real funny, buddy. Socks and a pair of tidy whities.
Socks and... What the... SpongeBob!
So this first mistake isn't that big of a deal, I guess, but this character right here is Incidental 107, and at one point in the episode, he asks for his change. Now, at first, as you can see, his food and tray are right beside him, like he has his food and tray, but in the next shot, they just disappear. They're like gone. I doubt that dude ate his food that fast, and if he did, I'm kind of impressed. But what isn't so impressive is mistake number 2. Let's move over to that one. Here's some clips.
What the? Thanks, SpongeBob. If I can reach, I'd do it myself.
Be customers! Gone! SpongeBob! Pack your bags, boy. You're moving out.
Now this one is actually pretty bad in my opinion, but when Patrick walks out of the kitchen and says, "Thanks, SpongeBob," his eyebrows are actually missing for an entire frame. I don't know, guys. People don't just lose their eyebrows. This was most likely a mistake by the animators. It's only for one frame, but hey, it's still a mistake, and we've got more. Let's move over to episode number 2, which has tons of mistakes. First up is one of my favorite episodes, that being Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4. I love Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, especially all of the different episodes, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there was even a 6th one, but just, I love these two characters, and rest in peace to Mermaid Man's actor. He was amazing. But yeah, part 4 is really good, and it's all about this belt right here, which has the ability to shrink people and do a whole bunch of different things. It's crazy, and SpongeBob gets his hands on it, and as you guys can imagine, that makes for quite the ridiculous situation. Here's some clips.
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
Must get autograph.
You gotta make room for seconds. Here comes our waiter.
Autograph.
To the invisible boatmobile. Away! Where do we park?
They're gone. Oh, Mermaid Man's belt! Mermaid Man's secret utility belt. The emblem of submersible justice. For 65 years, this belt has helped prevent the fall of nations. And pants. Oh, I guess I should return it. Or not.
You know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility, and I'm sorry, SpongeBob, you're not doing a very good job with the whole responsibility thing, because SpongeBob is just wildin' in this episode when it comes to this belt, and is using it for all of the wrong reasons. I mean, just look at what he does to Squidward, like, poor guy. But anyways, let's get into the mistakes. It's what you guys clicked on this video for. This episode has 3 spicy mistakes. Here's the first one.
Here's your shake, sir.
There you go. Come again, sir.
SpongeBob!
So at one point of the episode, SpongeBob gives a Krabby Patty to a cockroach. Ew. But more importantly, take a look at his spatula. As normally, his spatula looks like this, and it has like slots on it. I mean, that's how literally any spatula looks, but during that one spot when he gives the cockroach a Krabby Patty, the slots on his spatula just disappear. The animators just didn't draw them. I guess they were feeling a little lazy during this one shot. But hey, mistakes happen, and there's more. Here's mistake number 2.
Since I couldn't make you big, I made the city small.
This one is very easy to miss, and you kind of need the eyes of a hawk to catch it. I always include one mistake like this in these videos. But when everyone pops out of SpongeBob near the ending of the episode, after everybody goes like literally inside of his body, it's a wild scene, Sandy's head is missing. It's just missing. When everybody's popping out, really bad mistake. Sandy, where's your head? Wild. Let's move over to mistake number 3.
And now only one more thing to shrink. Cheese!
Good idea, SpongeBob.
Well, it's great to be back. Huh?
Okay, last mistake from this episode, and then we're gonna move on to another episode, but here's the deal here. When SpongeBob shrinks himself at the ending of the episode, that way he can be small with everybody else that he's shrunken. I mean, seriously, SpongeBob ruined a lot of people's lives in this episode. But anyways, once he shrinks himself, take a look at his belt, as his belt has changed into his normal pants, right? Like Mermaid Man's belt is changed into his normal pants, and that makes for a very strange mistake. This episode has so many mistakes, guys. There's even more, so we'll probably cover it in the future. But for now, let's move over to episode number 2. And last but not least is the episode Out of the Picture from season 10, a nice HD episode for you guys. I mean, look at how nice the footage looks. This episode is pretty interesting. Pretty much, Mr. Krabs realizes that Squidward's art, all of his lame art that he makes, I think it's actually kind of nice. Everybody else thinks it's lame, but Mr. Krabs realizes that if Squidward dies, that his art will be worth more money and he can sell it. Yeah, Mr. Krabs, you are a terrible boss, dude. Like, you're an awful boss, man. But anyways, here's some clips from the episode.
Mr. Krabs, Squidward is our friend, and his paintings are so cheap. Think about how valuable these paintings might become.
Valuable? What do you mean?
When art gets older, it usually gets more expensive. Squidward's paintings might be worth millions someday.
Millions?
Paintings? paintings can become much more valuable when the artist is no longer with us.
Maybe you could arrange that.
Man, Mr. Krabs sends Squidward on quite the adventure in this episode. This dude goes everywhere, including good old-fashioned Rock Bottom. I love this place. It's actually a reference to seasons 1, 2, and 3, back to the episode literally Rock Bottom. I love Rock Bottom and I love old school SpongeBob. But anyways, let's get into the mistake for this episode, as it has to do with Rock Bottom.
Got another delivery for you, Squidward, and only Squidward.
Left, stop, Rock Bottom.
Oh, remember, Squidward, real artists embrace the unknown. Is anyone here?
What are we screaming about?
What's up, SpongeBob?
Alright, so watch closely. When Squidward first arrives in Rock Bottom, the bus station is missing. This is an issue because the bus station is literally seen in the original Rock Bottom episode. Here's the bus station. But when Squidward first arrives, the animators must have just forgotten about this and they straight up did not draw the bus station, making for a continuity error here. The plot of the episode, Larry the floor manager, is pretty interesting. Larry, everyone's favorite jock, takes on the role of temporary manager of the Krusty Krab after Mr. Krabs takes a vacation. This does not go very well though, due to Larry being a fitness freak, with him doing ridiculous things, like replacing Krabby Patties for protein power shakes. Yeah, Larry definitely takes things too far, and by the end of the episode, he gets some payback when SpongeBob and a bunch of hungry Krusty Krab customers attack him. It's pretty wild, but on to the mistake. During this scene, where SpongeBob is delivering protein shakes to customers and drops one, this fish's eyes just turns yellow, like the same color as the protein shake, thus making for a clear mistake.
SpongeBob! Squidward! Let's move it, boys! Get those power shakes out and those heart rates up!
In Season 2, Episode 15, Grandma's Kisses, SpongeBob is excited to see his grandma at first, but quickly becomes embarrassed when customers at the Krusty Krab roast him and make fun of him just for wanting attention and love from his grandmother. It's pretty messed up. So because of this, Patrick and SpongeBob make a big decision and become adults. They grow up. This doesn't go very well though, as SpongeBob begins to crave his grandmother's affection, and in the end, he gives in. But if we rewind back to this scene, we can spot a mistake that I know you missed. At the beginning of the episode, when SpongeBob says, "Tell me another story about when I was a baby," well, his eyelashes are missing. It isn't that big of a deal, but yeah.
And then we drove all the way home with all the windows down in the freezing cold.
Tell me another story about when I was a baby. 3 o'clock!
The episode, I Smell a Pat, is all about Patrick, trying to film a new episode of The Patrick Show. However, things don't go as planned when a weird and gross smell begins to distract Patrick. From here, the episode focuses on Patrick and Squidina, searching far and wide to find what disgusting smell is distracting them. And by the end of the episode, they're successful. But let's go back to this scene for a sneaky goof. As Squidina and Patrick walk through their house, there is a quick frame where Squidina's eyes change to the same color as her body. It happens fast, so keep your eyes peeled.
Delicious! This nose must be on the Ritz.
Well, Patrick finds another nose. Enjoy this educational classic.
After waking up with a hangover from a party in the episode The Donut of Shame, Patrick accidentally takes SpongeBob's donut, and this results in him becoming overwhelmed with guilt. Now this episode is fairly short, and not much happens, with it eventually being revealed that the donut was actually gifted to Patrick by SpongeBob. However, if we keep our eyes peeled throughout the episode, we can spot a cheeky little mistake. When Patrick imagines SpongeBob walking and stepping on the donut under the rug, SpongeBob's nose turns white for a split second. It looks incredibly weird, so I have no idea how the animators missed this one. Here's a clip.
Hey, Patrick! Donut! You monster! You monster!
Another Season 3 favorite of mine is the episode Just One Bite. In this episode, SpongeBob learns something that he just cannot accept, and that's that Squidward, his best friend LOL, doesn't like Krabby Patties. Tragic, right? Well, this absolutely crushes SpongeBob, but little does he know that it's a complete con. And by the end of the episode, we learn the truth. Our favorite squid loves, and I mean Squidward really loves Krabby Patties. I mean, I can't blame him, they do look pretty good. Leave a comment, would you eat a Krabby Patty if you could? Anyways though, on to the mistake. During this scene, where Squidward throws a Krabby Patty on the ground, there is a single frame where his iconic wrinkles on his forehead just disappear. They come back. Yeah, this isn't that big of a mistake, but it's a mistake.
It has ever been my displeasure to have slither down my throat, and I curse this Krabby Patty and all who enjoy them to an early and well-deserved grave.
In the winter-themed episode, Snowball Effect, SpongeBob and Patrick have a snowball fight and try to get Squidward to join in on the action. Squidward thinks that snowball fights are childish and are for kids. But as you can imagine, by the end of the episode, he finds himself in the middle of an epic, a very epic snowball war with his neighbors. Now this episode is great, and I like that despite it being winter-themed, it isn't necessarily Christmas-themed. Sometimes it's fun to just play around in the snow. Anyways though, the mistake in question can be found during this part of the episode. As Squidward looks out his window, his arms are like a greenish brown. It looks really weird, look at that. Now it's worth mentioning that Squidward does wear a brown long sleeve shirt in this episode, but I mean, look at this. The shirt just literally blends into his arms and becomes a part of his arms. It looks awful. Here's a clip.
Nothing wrong with getting a front row seat, I suppose. What's this? What? No! What are you doing? You're supposed to be knocking each other's brains.
Back in your seat. Trays in upright position. Head between your knees. Your mama can't save you now.
The episode, Goons on the Moon, is a really good episode. I actually love this episode. There's so many funny scenes. I think even Santa Claus shows up at one point in this episode randomly. So funny. Really good episode. I recommend it. But this episode has an issue, and as you guys can guess, it has some mistakes, guys. It has two cheeky mistakes. Here's the first one.
Oh, shrimp. Now where am I? Maybe this one?
Are y'all ready to go nuts for some hokey hoo-ho?
Third time's a charm?
Now this one isn't that big of a deal, and it's honestly very easy to miss, but in this scene where Squidward is in the moon crater, the Krusty Krab delivery bag disappears and reappears constantly throughout the entire scene. It'll be there, then it's not there, then it's there again, and then it isn't there. And considering they're on the moon, I doubt like it's being put away and then being brought out randomly. Constantly, so this was definitely a mistake. There's some scenes where the animators forgot to draw the bag. And that ain't it for this episode. There's another mistake.
Everything okay back there, SpongeBob? Perfection!
Now we just wait for a gust of wind. Why don't we just push the moon back?
Now this one is really bad because I want you guys to remember that these dudes are in space, okay? They're in space, right? So in this scene where SpongeBob is having trouble putting on a seatbelt, we can see that he's barefoot. He isn't wearing any socks or shoes or nothing. However though, when they end up making a sale of clothes, SpongeBob now randomly has socks. Where did he get the socks from? Like, where did they come from? They're in space. This man didn't just get space socks randomly, so a bit of a mistake. I'll admit, the mistakes in this episode were kinda weak, but trust me guys, this next episode is full of wild mistakes. Next up is the episode Growth Spurt, which is all about Pearl becoming very big. I don't know, I guess she just eats, and Pearl, she goes through a massive growth spurt and becomes huge. Like, I really feel bad for Mr. Krabs in this episode because Pearl already eats a lot. Here's some clips.
Pearl, I somehow just realized what's happening. You're having one of them, growth spouts.
It means I need food!
Hanging cured meats, exotic spices, a bread box overflowing with baguettes. Yummy stuff everywhere. Okay, Pearly, I got some more vittles here for you.
Pearl is wildin' in this episode. Like, at one point, she literally threatens to eat Mr. Krabs' money. Like, this girl is so hungry, she would have eaten his money. But anyways, let's get into the mistake in this episode. It's really bad. Keep those eyes peeled.
I paid $30 for that bed!
Ow! So hungry. Not gonna make it.
SpongeBob, hurry it up!
So heading back to the beginning of the episode, we see numerous parts of Pearl's body grow. For example, her fin, we see it blast through the mirror in the washroom, which is crazy, and her feet grow. But here's the issue. This changes as the episode progresses. For example, her fin, it gets massive and blasts through the mirror, but then when Mr. Krabs goes into the next room, her fin's like the normal size again. It isn't as big as it was a moment ago. So that's one continuity error, but also her feet grow, right? As we can see in this shot, but then when she's at the Krusty Krab, she's seen wearing her regular boots. So like, I don't know what's going on here. I guess the animators forgot about these limbs blowing up and becoming so big and made a little bit of a mistake here. But let's move over to another episode that has some even more interesting mistakes, because I'll admit these ones were kind of weak, but these next mistakes are crazy.
This gets real uncomfortable after a while.
Sorry to bother you, Mr. Cat. I just thought you'd like a bite too. Wow!
Next up is Kenny the Cat, a more modern episode of SpongeBob. And you know, this episode isn't bad. It isn't necessarily my favorite. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments. But what I do know for sure is this episode has two mistakes. Here's the first one. Keep those eyes peeled.
Here I was this entire time believing your act, only to discover that it was nothing but an act!
But it's not what you think. I'm just a cat with a dream. A dream to give the gift of hope. Have mercy.
All right, Kenny, all right. I promise I won't tell anyone.
Really?
So throughout this episode, this character right here, Kenny the Cat, as you can see, he has gray nails, okay? It's in multiple scenes. You can see right here, I'm zooming in on it. But during this one scene where Kenny says, have mercy, why are they white? His nails just randomly are white in this one scene, as you can see here, but in every other scene, they're gray. So like, what? The animators definitely got a little bit, you know, mixed up here. It's not that big of a deal, but it's still a mistake. And hey, there's more. Here's mistake number 2.
Just out of scientific curiosity, how do you hold your breath for so long?
Hey, maybe we should show our fine guest a little more hospitality,
What has gotten into you, SpongeBob?
I can't take it! I need oxygen!
Yeah, So when everyone finds out that Kenny the cat over here is a big old fraud, he's a big fat phony, the fish walk away and we can hear a male voice say the word liar. But the issue is that this character that actually says liar is a female character, right? Like, it's always been a female incidental character, but the voice that comes out is a male voice. Now, we're very progressive here on Grapple, just considering when this episode came out, I do think that this was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to be a male voice. But what do you guys think in the comments? I don't know. Let's keep it moving and head over to another crazy episode full of crazy mistakes. Our favorite squirrel, Sandy, is feeling a little homesick in the season 1 episode, Texas. So she decides to return back home, leaving her close friends very depressed and sad. Now, fortunately for SpongeBob and Patrick, she eventually realizes that she is better off in Bikini Bottom by the ending of the episode, and decides to stay with her sea creature friends instead, making for a touching moment. Before all this happens though, there's a scene where SpongeBob and Patrick walk around in a circle, and if you look closely at SpongeBob's mouth, it seems the animators messed up, as SpongeBob is seen with 2 bottom lines. It looks really weird. Here's a clip.
So we shouldn't say anything bad about Texas.
I'm warning you, SpongeBob!
Look, Patrick, I'm Texas. Howdy, y'all.
I'm Texas too.
Howdy, y'all.
Get a dog, little Arnie. Get a dog.
Howdy, y'all.
Squidward becomes frustrated with SpongeBob in the episode Squidward, after SpongeBob makes a puppet version of Squidward that everyone at Bikini Bottom likes a whole lot more. Now, the mistakes in this episode are fairly small, so I'm going to keep this section short, but if we head over to this scene, we can spot a mistake, as the animators incorrectly colored puppet Squidward's sleeve as brown, when it should obviously be the same color as Squid's skin. So, yeah.
SpongeBob can play with me, you.
So, you'll be filling in for me when SpongeBob wants to play one of his stupid games?
Yeah?
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Our next mistake comes from the season 1 episode, Pickles. In this classic episode, SpongeBob forgets how to make a Krabby Patty. This forces SpongeBob to retire from his job or occupation at the Krusty Krab. However, after some good old training, SpongeBob gets back to his work and proves that he is absolutely the best fry cook in all of Bikini Bottom. Now, while SpongeBob is the perfect fry cook, the episode itself is not perfect, as when Bubble Bass says, "You lose," Incidental 5 is missing something that's pretty important. Yeah, he's missing his mouth. Also, during this scene, there's another mistake, as Krabby Patty is incorrectly spelt on the Galley Grub menu, with it being spelt as P-A-T-T-I-E, when it's not supposed to be spelt like that, so yeah. Here's a clip of both mistakes with audio.
You forgot the pickles! The best there is? I don't think so. You lose.
Welcome to the Krusty Krab. My name is Squidward. Can I take your order?
Oh, I'll have a, no.
In the episode Squid on Strike, Squidward and SpongeBob go on strike, a labor strike, and this is all because Mr. Krabs is trying to force the pair to pay some unfair fees. Well, as you can imagine, being the greedy crab that he is, Mr. Krabs fires SpongeBob and Squidward due to their strike, and this leaves them unemployed. Now, during this scene, taking place outside of the Krusty Krab, Squidward tells SpongeBob that if he listens to him, they'll get their jobs back. And as Squidward says this, SpongeBob is incorrectly drawn with 1 tooth, when he normally is seen with 2. Isn't that big of a deal, but it's definitely a mistake.
Sorry.
Just do exactly as I say, SpongeBob, and in no time, you will have your job back and more.
And more?
The season 12 episode, Insecurity Guards, has some cheeky mistakes. This episode is all about a painting by Squidward that has to be presented to a very high class and snobby art critic. At first, things go swimmingly for Squidward. That is until the art critic insults Squidward's painting. Poor Squidward. Well, in response, Squidward gives the art critic some insults of his own, thus getting himself kicked out. It's hilarious. Now during this scene, there is a very subtle mistake that you may not notice at first, and I can't blame you as it's easy to miss. If you look closely at the art critic, you can see that his eyes magically disappear for about a split second or so. They do come back immediately after, but damn, does it look weird while they're gone. Here's a clip.
Well, what do you think? Do you love it?
Mr. Tentacles, I simply cannot express my true feelings about your work.
Yes, I realize my artistic brilliance can be overwhelming.
Quite frankly, it stinks.
Our first mistake can be found in the episode Hooky. So this episode is fairly deep, as it's meant to teach you a lesson about lying. In this episode, hooks have begun popping up across Bikini Bottom, and though Mr. Krabs tells SpongeBob to stay away from them, he doesn't really listen.